Hi guys, and welcome to another FaceHammer video talking about Warhammer the Old World. A new article has dropped yesterday. In fact, I didn't get round to recording yesterday, so I'm doing that today, about the shooting phase. It's pretty exciting stuff, some little reveals in there, so I'm going to look through the article from warhammercommunity.com and I'll put a link in the description, and then I'm going to talk through my experiences and from the old editions and what it might mean and give you some of my insights. For those of you wanting some Age of Sigmar content, don't worry, there is some coming. Soon there's some releases I'll be covering next couple of weeks or so. So stay tuned for that. I'm also working on Project Dragon, which is I'll be doing a hobby blog on that over the next couple of weeks to go my Ionis Cryptborn. If you want to check that video out, it's on the channel, how I went about painting that model. That was a fun project that ended up featuring on Warhammer Community, so very, very thankful for that. So thanks for sharing that with everyone, people at Warcom. I really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get into this video and talk about Warhammer the Old World and the shooting phase and the Old World Almanac that has just gone up. So let's look at it. So this is the article. So obviously one of the main shooting units from the Old World, which was the Wood Elf sort of longbow wielders that were a bane of my chariots and my Tomb Kings in general with their skirmishers and all that kind of stuff. So it looks fairly like typical from a Warhammer game. Declare target, roll a hit, roll a wound, remove casualties. Obviously there's saves in there as well. So you know, we've got like the longbow, so there's some 30-inch range, strength 3, armor piercing, nothing. So this AP stat, that's new. So what how it used to work is you would either have a strength modifier or you just wouldn't get a save. So generally like cannonballs are strength 10, so it's like -6, so it just goes straight through. But like, you know, so I don't know, but there's also armor bane brackets 1. So I don't know if that means that if you're at short range, you get AP1, you know, because it does more damage close up. I don't know. So there's some special rules that's new. Armor Bane was not in the other games. So Volley Fire was. So Volley Fire used to be that your front rank normally can shoot and the guys behind can't shoot unless you're on like a hill, then you get extra rank. There's a mention of that later. So Volley Fire was you took half, if you didn't move, you could use half the number of models not in the front rank could shoot, so they like fire up. I don't know if I can't remember. There's an extra modifier for that. I can't remember. But yeah, that was that's what volley fire used to be. Whether it's the same, who knows? It's interesting that it's attached to the weapon, so maybe that even like anyone with a bow could volley fire. I think that's how it was before. But you wouldn't be able to volley with like probably handguns and things like that. So now the Screaming Skull Catapult is a model I'm very familiar with. I used it a lot. So some interesting things here. Now a stone thrower had a profile and the Screaming Skull Catapult was a stone thrower, and it went from guessing the range to put the template on, rolling the scatter dice, artillery dice. Now I hope those dice come back. I don't know if they're going to use those or do something else, but it does talk about the 3-inch blast and a misfire table, which normally means you need an artillery dice. And it says it shoots like a stone thrower, which, you know, we had. It has got a minimum range of 12. I don't think they used to have a minimum range. I might be wrong on that one. Depends on what the edition. And it says that it's got the multiples D3 plus 1, which only applies to the model whose base lies under the central hull. So the central hull looks like 8 minus 3, D3 plus 1. Now, it used to be D6, so that might mean that they're trying to get away from cannonballs and things, just like one-shotting heroes out of units. You know, I'll put it on the Vampire Lord's head. Did you fair look out, sir? Right, he's dead. Like, that's game, you know. So I don't know if the reason they've done that is so you can't really one-shot. Though I think a lot of characters had 3 wounds if they were a hero and 4 wounds if they were a lord. So maybe it still could, but it would only be on a 5+ rather than on a 4+. I don't know. There must be some reasoning behind it. And it does say it's got the bombardment rule, so I guess that means you don't need line of sight. And how it used to work is that if you rolled a hit on the hit dice, you didn't move the template. But if you were firing indirectly or without line of sight, you still scattered, but a hit allowed you to use your ballistic skill to move it back. So skeletons being ballistic skill 2 meant you only hit on rolling it, or direct hit when you rolled a hit and a 2 on the artillery dice. If you rolled a 4, then you'd scatter by 2 inches, even if you rolled a hit. So that might be the same. Don't know. Cumbersome, we can guess, is move or shoot. It's a war machine. Maybe you've got arcs and you can pivot. You used to be able to pivot and shoot. Maybe you can't even do that, but you probably should be able to. Flaming attacks, magical attacks, always was. It's got move or shoot, so maybe cumbersome is different then, because there's move or shoot rule. So wonder what that is. Maybe you can't charge. I don't know. It's got multiple wounds, D3+1, so obviously that's the extra wounds on the middle hole, which is explained below. Screaming Skulls. Now, obviously, that I hope that it used to be able that you take a panic test if you took a wound because of the horrific nature of the ammunition, and you could upgrade your Screaming Skull catapult to have better skulls, have a -1 on the leadership. So I hope that's still there. Screaming Skull catapults, I love them. I've still got my 2 meta ones. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how that pans out. I am planning to get my Tomb Kings out the loft and have a bit of a rifle through. I've still got my Casket of Souls and everything. So yeah, I might do a video going through my old model collection, showing off some of my stuff. Unfortunately, I did rebase a lot of my Tomb King stuff, so I've got a mixed collection of stuff that's like half finished or not based. So it's a bit, I'll probably have to redo the army from scratch. So that's an option anyway. So it says that, you pick a unit. It talks about volley fire down here. So it says only a front rank unless you're stationed on a hill. Time to hit. So it says the new style, the old style ballistic skill, or BS, is back and runs from 1 to 10. Now, one of the things that's interesting here is if you've got a higher ballistic skill, you get a reroll. So it says here, if your ballistic skill 6 or higher, it gains a reroll should it fail to hit. So if you've got a ballistic skill 6, you hit on a 2, then the reroll would hit on a 6. Now, I don't know how this works with modifiers, because obviously it talks about here negative modifiers to your shooting: -1, moved, you're at long range, you're being charged. If they've got cover, a natural one always misses. Negative models can stack past 6+, and you may have to roll a 7+, 8, or 9, which is a natural 6 followed by 4, 5, or 6, which was something in the game. So I don't know how often like this will come up, this like reroll thing, because if you're like ballistics, because your ballistic skill, but you might have be like -3, but you don't minus your ballistic skill, you minus the dice roll. Maybe you minus. So it's interesting how the modifiers interact with your ballistic skill and this reroll mechanic they've put in. Because it always used to be, this chart, and it was basically add up to 7. So 5 + 2 is 7, 4 + 3 is 7, 3 + 4 is 7. So that's how you would know what you needed. So you would say, oh, I'm ballistic skill 3, I need a 4. That's 7. So that was always the way it used to be. This extra like 7s or 8s to hit you could have because the modifiers, and then that was this 6, followed by a thing, 4, 5, or 6. So and also they talk about the wound chart. So strength, toughness. So this has gone under different iterations over the years. So I remember early days, like a strength 3 model couldn't hurt a toughness 7 creature. So giants were toughness 7. I think this is 4th edition. So strength 3 troops, if you charge with a giant, they just couldn't do anything, and you're just constantly taking a break test. But there was always the chance that the giant would jump up and down, fall over, and lose the break test and get run down. So that was kind of your only hope if you couldn't get any help in there, or you just rolled badly and your static combat res beat him. It looks like, so if you're strength 3 and they're toughness 8, you still need a 6. So it's almost like you have to be. It used to be like double +2. So 6 + 2, yeah. So 4, 8 + 2. No, I can't remember. But basically, it's the easiest way to remember it is if you're 2. It's kind of like a sliding scale. So if you're 2 less, your strength's better by 2, it's a 2 up. And then if it's better by 1, it's a 3 up. If it's the same, it's 4. Then it goes 5. Then it goes 6. Then you've got you got 3 chance above that to go 6, 6, 6. So basically there's 4 6+ until you can't hurt. So strength 4 can't hurt, toughness 10. So I think in the old days, like war machines were toughness 10. Like if you wanted to hit the machine directly, no one really did. But So there are some things that can't hurt other things, which is interesting. It'd be interesting if the weapon skill charts change from 3s and 5s being the best, because it used to be that weapon skill was never really as important as strength and toughness, because the best you could get was like 3s. You could get a sword, you could get a magic item that gave you +1 hit, but basically you're like 3s and 2s, 3s and 2s. That was the best profile basically, to hit and to wound. It says you take an armor save. It says the armor penetration with the value of the model it's hitting, and it can be boosted. And they talk about barded mounts, certain spells, magic items. Models can also have a ward save. This cannot be modified by AP and is rolled separate after the armor save. So it's armor saves and wards together, not like 40k where you get one or the other. So it's quite familiar. So the only difference is the armor penetrations looks like it's baked into a stat rather than your strength, which gives you a little bit of design space to have high strength weapons with low armor penetration, or low strength weapons with high armor penetration, and vice versa. And special rules you could put in, like Armor Bane, which looks like it's going to give you like AP1 if you're within a certain range or something like that. Says remove casualties, take panic tests. So obviously still panic tests coming in. Remove 1 model for every wound unless they've got multiple wounds. Take it from, if you have to take panic if you've lost a quarter of the models in the unit. I talk about that in another article, but that was how it always used to be. And it does talk about breath weapons, fire and flee, which looks like fast cavalry might be able to do this. It says skirmish cavalry, so I don't know if they've got light cavalry. So there used to be a thing called light cavalry, which you could reform as many times as you want on the move. There were some really janky things you could do with this because those reforms were technically free. And if you remember the hex wraiths, if a model passed over you, you took a wound. But what you could do is you could like reform into a line, and spin, and then reform into line, reform into line, reform into line. So you could change the model that was here and reform 10 times because they were fast cavalry to clip and then come back again. They did sort that out in the independent scene. They stopped people doing that. But yeah, there was loads of stuff like that you could do if you read the rules as written. So it'd be interesting to see what they've done there. I mean, I know the people involved are probably veterans and know this sort of stuff. So hopefully they fix these sort of little loopholes. And it says Dwarven Iron Drakes have Cinder Blast bombs, which can quick shot. And I guess that might be that they can stand and shoot even if you're within half range, because I think one of the things in the charge said if they were more than their normal move, within their normal move, you couldn't stand and shoot. So maybe the Iron Drakes can. Also talks about magic that you do in the shooting phase. The magic being spread over the phases is really weird. I don't know how I feel about that, but it might be pretty cool. It could mean some things like your wizard can be hiding, then move out into range and line of sight, and then cast his spell. So yeah, it might make wizards quite powerful. They always were powerful in Warhammer, but I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. So it says that I wonder if you're a wizard, you got like 4 spells, you can do a spell in every phase, or you're limited, or you can just do you can just fill your boots. So it says human wizards using battle magic cast a quick fireball, and it talks about a Vortex of Chaos. So fireball is a magic missile type. Casting value is 8+. Now again, I speculated that I think that's roll 2 dice, had your magic level. Range is 24. I don't know if that's true, by the way. That's me guessing. Then the effect is the target of the enemy takes 2d6 strength 4 hits, which is always what Fireball used to do. Each with the AP of Might of Nothing. So there's no, so it's strength 4, but your armor save isn't reduced. This spell has flaming attacks. So in the old game, if you don't know, some units were vulnerable to flaming attacks, like Tomb Kings, like mummies, and trolls, and you wouldn't get your regeneration save from fire. Bit of a throwback for Dungeons and Dragons. But maybe there's also stuff that's resilient to fire, like some of the elves could take, like the Dragonbane gem, I think, gave you 2-up ward against fire, or you could have the Phoenix gem, I think, on, you could give it to your champion in a Phoenix guard and they're immune to flaming attacks, or there were certain major immune to flaming attacks anyway. I remember at the first Masters when Marcus Lake had his high elf army and he had his Phoenix guard, and Chris Legg charged his flaming bloodthirster in, got challenged out, and then Marcus was like, yeah, you can't hurt him. So the flaming bloodthirster could do nothing, and then he got broken and popped to combat res with his instability test. So there you go, there's a throwback to the past. And that was the same Masters where the Wood Elf Wild Rider champion with Annoyance and Netlings, and the thing that stops the mount attacking, there was a horn that meant, or there's something in the unit, a banner that meant the Orc Wyvern couldn't attack, so Ben Johnson got challenged out, and Martin Bunting won the first ever Masters that was run by Ben Curry and the Bad Dice crew many years ago, and I was fortunate enough to be there with my Funky Chaos. Remember Andy Isherwood running I think he called it the Not Safe for YouTube name star, and it was a load of flesh hounds with bloodletters on demonic mounts. So there's a blast from the past, so it's there you go. And I think that was probably seventh edition, I'm going to go with. Anyway, Demology, Vortex of Chaos. So you've got a Vortex as a type. So there's a range of 15 inches, and it says that it remains in play. Now, remains in play spells used to be able to be got rid of later on. So don't know how that's going to work, if they're going to borrow from Age of Sigmar, because obviously before you had Dispel dice and Power dice, and then you allocated the dice to what you wanted to cast depending on the wizard, and the wizard level capped what you could roll. I don't think they're doing that in this. I might be wrong. We've also had the magic cards. That's definitely coming back. I wish it was that was always entertaining. Then you've got remains in place, small 3-inch blast template. Central hole is within 15 of the caster. It's dangerous terrain. So obviously there'll be a rule for that. I don't know if that's roll a 1, take a wound, or you die. It'd be funny if you got like things like Archeon tripping over and dying on a route, as we did in early AOS days. Templates move D6 inches in a random direction during every start of turn sub phase. So that's like right at the beginning of each turn. Any unit, friend or foe, the moving template touches or moves over takes D6 plus 1 strength 3 hits with an AP of nothing. So I don't know how impactful that is if dangerous terrain. I don't know if it doesn't say you ignore it. So in the old world, your spells could affect you, so you could pit a shade your own unit and stuff like that. So I don't know if they're going to maintain that level of danger, because a lot of the AOS stuff is like, it doesn't affect your units, and I really wish they did. I think it's just quite cool. So I don't know if, for example, it says it moves D6 randomly. If you rolled a hit, could you like direct it? Because if you're the wizard that cast it, do you have any control on it? Probably, I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe if you roll a hit, you just use the arrow on the top of the hit. There's like the hit dice was a little circle with an arrow. I'm assuming they're using those dice. I mean, it'd be good to see them back. I've still got some of my old ones. They're up in my dice box in the loft, so I haven't dug them out yet. But I thought I could show you those. But if you don't know what a scattered dice and artillery dice are, I'm sure if you Google it, you'll see those. As most people call it, the misfire dice. I remember the old ones during 4th edition had the word misfire written on it, and they changed it to an exclamation mark later on. But that's it really for the update about the shooting phase. So you can see from the article, you've got a little bit of insight into the shooting. It looks very similar to old editions. The wound chart, I don't know if it's that different, but it's very similar to the later Warhammer for 8th edition. And also some stuff about the magic, which is very different. And the next phase is the combat phase. That'll be very interesting to see how much they dive into break test psychology, immune psychology, unbreakable, things like that. Whether the undead rule of like you take extra casualties by the amount you lose by, and if there's demonic instability and things like that. So I'm sure there'll be lots of ever special rules for each faction, but I don't know how much they'll go into in the article. But that's the update. I think you hope you found that interesting. If you want more old world content, you can be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That really helps me out, and tell people that we're back covering the old world. That always helps word of mouth great. I hope you enjoyed it, and I appreciate you guys checking it out. I think the next article, it looks like the article is going up on regularly on a Monday, so next Monday I'll check, and if it's up, I'll try and get a video out on the day, but it might be the day after, a bit like this one. So, and I will be doing some videos going through the factions and looking at the armies that are going to sort of heralded as the main armies, and looking back at their army books. A friend of mine, Carl, who's a patron, suggested doing that, so people getting ready for the next, talk about what they used to do, how they used to play. Maybe there'll be some insights. I'm really excited to get hold of the new Tomb King stuff. I can't wait, really. So I've cleared my hobby schedule for next year, dug out my old file with the old sand recipe and things like that. So yeah, I'm well excited. So that's all good. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one. And yeah, cheers.